Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Pineapple Podcast episode, a Cherry Creek Innovation Campus production. I'm your host, Nate Barrett.
And I'm Morgan Dawson, and today we have a very special guest. He's originally from Israel, but he grew up in Philadelphia and has been working in kitchens since the age of 13. He is also an author, a James Beard Award-winning chef, and the owner of Safta here in Denver and Saba in New Orleans, and is currently in the works of opening up a new restaurant at the Four Seasons in New Orleans come 2021. May I introduce to you Chef Alon Shaya. Hi, how are you doing?
Good. Thank you, Morgan. And thank you, Nate, so much for having me on the Pineapple Podcast. I'm really honored to be a part of it.
Thank you for joining us.
It's our pleasure.
Sure.
So, if you don't mind, for the people who may not know who you are, can you give us a little background?
Yeah, of course. I'm a chef. I've been cooking my entire career. And, I have gotten into the restaurant business, and it has brought me to Denver, Colorado, with the opening of Safta restaurant in the Rhino neighborhood, where we cook Israeli food. Also at my restaurant Saba in New Orleans, we cook Israeli food. And I was born in Israel, and so these are restaurants that kind of reflect the food that I grew up eating, that my mother and my grandmother taught me how to cook, and also just food and cuisine that I've learned through my travels there and research, and also from what I love to eat. So I've been cooking my entire career, and it's something that I just really love doing. It brings me a lot of joy, mostly because I'm able to bring people happiness through food, and that's what keeps me going.
Have you always been in touch with your Israeli culture? Like, was it always your intent to do or open a restaurant with Israeli cuisine?
It actually was never my intent to do that until
Really?
about 2013.
Mm-hmm.
But I started cooking in 1994, so in restaurants. So I growing up, being born in Israel and then moving here at the age of 4 years old, I always looked at my Israeli past as being something like that I was kind of ashamed of, and something that I wasn't really comfortable with, mostly because it was just really different. And I felt pretty different. In school, I had a lot of language barriers in the beginning. I didn't speak English when I first came to America. And so in some of those younger years where like you're really building your self-esteem and
Yeah.
your confidence, I felt like I was always kind of behind. And so I never thought cooking Israeli food was something that I would ever do. I actually loved cooking Italian food, and that even drove me to move to Italy and apprentice out there at one point in my career. So it wasn't until I was about 35 years old that I started even thinking about cooking Israeli food professionally.
Yeah, I didn't know you apprenticed in Italy either. That's awesome. How was
Yeah,
that experience?
it was really cool. It was in 2007 to 2008, right after Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. I was kind of, I wanted more training and more authenticity in my cooking, and I had always just really loved cooking Italian food. When I started cooking in restaurants, well, in like fine dining restaurants when I was 16 years old, it was an Italian restaurant. And then I kind of kept cooking through different Italian restaurants, through my 20s. And I always felt really comfortable with Italian food. So after Hurricane Katrina, I had an opportunity to go and move to Italy for a while and cook in kitchens out there. And so I did that and kind of used my life savings out there to learn how to make really good pizza and roll pasta and make really good, lasagna bolognese and different types of cured meats. And so I really kind of stuck to Italian cooking. And then in 2011, I took a trip to Israel And at that point, I was already pretty confident as a chef, and definitely more in tune with what I felt like I wanted to do, and what was important to me. And so on that trip, kind of this light bulb went off, and I realized that my entire career I've been missing out on a really important aspect of cooking, and that's from where I come from. It's my roots, it's my family history, it's the food I grew up eating, it's like the food that I have some of the most sentimental memories of as a kid is like hummus and pita bread and shakshuka and all barekas, all these really great foods that I never cooked for people in a restaurant. So really, when I started doing that in 2015, everything started to come together for me, and I feel like I really was able to make a full circle on how cooking and my identity meet up.
And so I must ask, what in your experience was that relationship between, if any, between Italian food and Israeli food?
Well, there's a lot of connections there. A lot. It's very Mediterranean diet, right? So there's a lot of use of olive oil and olives and feta cheese or goat cheese, a lot of fresh vegetables, a lot of open fire cooking, um, a lot of herbs like rosemary and sage. And so I always felt like those flavors kind of combined, because when I grew up, I remember my grandmother roasting peppers and roasting eggplants over like a fire, over our gas stove in our kitchen. And that was to make a Bulgarian dish called lutenica, which I serve at Safta now. It's on the appetizer menu. And when I started cooking in Italian restaurants as a teenager, we'd be roasting peppers and peeling them for, putting on pizzas and putting on salads, or serving as an antipasto. And so like I always connected with Italian food, I think because of the similarities between Italian and Israeli cooking.
Your home ec teacher really
Yeah.
changed your mind, or just like opened your mind to all the possibilities that life had to offer for you. And she's the one who got you into a job in a restaurant at the age of 13. Was that correct?
Yeah, yeah, Donna Barnett.
Yeah.
She, I was a really crappy high school kid, and I think a lot of the issues that I had surrounding identity and confidence and all those things, stemming from how different I was, coming from Israel to America, all had a real lasting effect on me into my high school years. And my parents divorced when I was pretty young, so from the age of 5 on, my mom was working 2 jobs. We were super poor. We grew up in a rich neighborhood where there was a lot of people that had a lot more money and a lot more things than we had. And so it kind of like set me up for acting out, right? And it set me up
Yeah.
for trying to like prove to people that I was somebody
Mm.
through like really destructive ways. And by the time I was in high school, I had already been arrested multiple times. I was involved in drugs. I was involved in a lot of theft. I was constantly breaking the law, and I was really heading down a path of negativity and anger. And I, found myself just pretty miserable, because I didn't quite know how to communicate to people through kindness.
Mm.
And the only way that I really could do that was through cooking, because I loved cooking even at that age. I would cook a lot, and I would make somebody a dish, and I would hand it to them, and they would smile, and they would ask me questions about it, and they would make eye contact with me, and they would want to know more about it and why I love cooking. And I felt like through those experiences, I was able to create positivity in my life. And I really kind of latched on to cooking because of that. When I signed up to take Donna Barnett's home economics class when I was in ninth grade, it was one part because I liked cooking, and another part because I didn't have to sit in some boring class
Yeah.
somewhere listening to something that I didn't care about.
Mhm.
And so Donna just became this extreme mentor for me, and really kind of helped whip me into shape, get me focused. She got me my first job at a restaurant. She um, made sure to keep in touch with my boss at that restaurant to make sure that I was showing up on time and dressed the right way and focused. She helped me decide that I should go to culinary school and make a career out of cooking, and that I didn't have to just like go work at a gas station or something after
Yeah.
high school, which I was probably planning on doing. And I really looked up to her, and she's still a huge part of my life. We have a foundation together called the Shaya Barnett
Mhm.
Foundation. And, that's what brings me to you guys and my connection to Cherry Creek Innovation Campus, because I now work with Donna to try and pass off that positivity that she helped me find when I was your age. And hopefully pass that along to other people and show them that, look, you don't have to be like the best person, you don't have to have the best grades in history or in math or in English or whatever. You can still like figure out what makes you happy and then have a great career because of that. But it comes with a lot of focus, it comes with a lot of discipline, it comes with not breaking the law anymore, or just skipping class and all of these things. So I almost like failed out of high school, but I graduated near the top of my class in culinary school with perfect attendance and really great grades and a lot of extracurricular activities, because it was finally something that I cared about and that I liked doing, and it's brought a lot to me.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that is awesome. And I really appreciate how you're so open in the media with about your past. I think that's great. And do you do that to like make more connections and inspire more people maybe going through the same type of thing?
I just talk about my life and what I've gone through, and it's something that I never really was comfortable doing, but over time has become more comfortable doing, especially since I wrote the cookbook, which really kind of talks through all of my life story and gives a lot of examples of all those things I just talked about. And so I feel that if I can help, relate to somebody that may be going through what I was going through, and help to, inspire them to make good decisions moving forward and follow their passion for hospitality, for cooking, or for whatever they're passionate about. It could be anything. I love doing that. I mean, it brings me a lot of joy to do that. So that's why I'm so open about it.
And I
That's great.
saw on the Pomegranate Hospitality, your company, it had a link to the Shaya Barnett Foundation,
Yeah.
and it said that you were in links with, is it a school district in New Orleans?
It's with the New Orleans Career Center, which
Mhm.
is a vocational program in New Orleans, similar to what Cherry Creek Innovation Campus does. But definitely, it's not like a brand new building, and you guys have a really incredible space that you guys should be very happy about. We're currently in New Orleans. The New Orleans Career Center is kind of in this transition period in a temporary building, and soon we'll be moving into a brand new facility with all new equipment, and so I'm connected with them to try to connect with the students and
Yeah,
help in the way that I can.
awesome. Yeah, I saw the pictures, and was that Donna in the picture next to you on the site?
Yes, it was.
Awesome. She looks
Yeah.
She looks extremely proud of you in every single photo. She's
Yeah,
just smiling, the biggest smile.
she's the best. She's like she's like a mother to me, and she really, I think, single-handedly helped to steer me in the right direction in life.
And I think it's cool that now you're doing the same thing that she did for you to like thousands of students, whether it's in New Orleans or, at the Cherry Creek Innovation Campus too. Because you've taught classes at the Cherry Creek Innovation Campus, right?
I did, yep. I came and did a cooking demo with a couple of the classes, and that's a great way to connect with students and show them something that not only how to cook something, but also be able to like answer questions and share my story.
Yeah.
And I love doing it. I love teaching people the way that Donna loved teaching people. So she's definitely inspired me to do that and to care about that.
When you were starting out, creating Safta, creating Saba in New Orleans, was there a time when you really tried to evaluate the kind of business you wanted to run and how you wanted to treat your employees? Or, there's always higher ups, somebody
Mhm.
you wanted to, just like telling people your values.
Yeah, totally. So when we started, my wife Emily and I started Pomegranate Hospitality in 2017. And at that time, we were going through like a transition and leaving an old restaurant group and starting our own restaurant group. Um, and specifically, we were doing that so that we could create um, a better place in the industry for people to pursue their personal and professional goals. And I was leaving this environment where I didn't feel like my values lined up with what was going on around me, my personal values of empowerment and respect
Yeah.
and education, and just people being good to each other and people feeling safe. And so when we started Pomegranate, we made it our mission statement was to create a safe and comfortable work environment where people can feel empowered, where they can feel communicated to, where they feel like organization plays a key role in their daily experience at work, where they feel safe from harassment or bullying or abuse of any kind, where cultural differences are celebrated, and where we use cultural differences as a point of education and knowledge, instead of creating barriers between people. And and so when we started Pomegranate specifically to create that environment, we realized that to do that it takes a lot of investment. Like you can't just only say those things. You have to actually put your money where your words are. And we hired a director of people and culture to be part of our team to help us frame out how we were going to make our core values come to life every day. And we offer health benefits to our team members, and we offer benefits that help them with things that concern mental health and drug addiction, if they need help there. We have a no tolerance policy for any type of disrespect or bullying or abuse of any kind. And to do that, we have to make sure that everyone is bought in to the mission. And so that means that maybe not everybody that joins the team is going to be bought into those missions. Like we work really hard through the interview process to find people that align with those values. But if they don't, we can't keep them part of the team because it will just bring everybody down. And so that takes investment too. It's cheaper and less expensive to just keep people around. But if they're creating an unhealthy atmosphere, it is it goes against what our values are. We offer paid time off for our team members so they can take vacations and feel like they're not, missing out on the paycheck. We have implemented a kitchen appreciation fee where we add a 4% fee to every bill. And that money goes to non-tipped employees like dishwashers and cooks, because there's a huge pay gap between service and culinary team members through the way tipping works. So we've tried to minimize that gap for our team. We have relationships with local gyms so that they can, our team members can go and stay healthy and work out at a discounted rate. All of these things are meant to help the entire mission come to life.
See, and that isn't a crazy thing. Treating people with respect and as human beings isn't a crazy thing to say. But in business, I would say that many would argue it's not profitable, or not as profitable as it could be, or arguably not successful to do that. But yet here we are, and you're opening another restaurant more successful than ever.
Yeah.
And it's a pandemic.
Yeah, I would say that if we scrapped all of our core values and all of our benefit programs and our department of people and culture, and if we, on top of that, quality takes money to produce, right? So let's just use like ingredients that you cook with as a good example. Buying local, fresh, beautiful heirloom tomatoes is more expensive than going to the store and buying tomatoes that were trucked in from California or from Mexico. And so you're investing money into a better quality tomato to have better tasting food for your guests. You're investing money into a free range, hormone free chicken that can, experience sunlight and enjoy the short life that it has before it becomes our dinner. You pay more for that. You pay more to create an environment that is healthier for team members, because you have to have someone that is gonna work every single day to make sure that the blueprint of our values stay intact. You have to, pay money to the insurance companies and for benefits so that our team can go and get taken care of if they're sick, or their families can get medical help if they need it. Those things, just like the food, that creates better quality as well. I definitely, we could be more profitable if we scrapped all of that. But that's not why we are doing it. It is important that we are profitable so that we can stay in business and keep people employed. But it isn't worth to do that at the expense of what our core values are. And so as we build out our company, that becomes part of the business plan, right? And it helps us decide how much do we need to charge for this lemonade to, make sure that we can still afford benefits for our team, to make sure that we can afford the proper PPE for our team members to have every time they come to work. Those digital thermometers cost a bunch of money, and the amount of masks and gloves and all these things that we go through. That allows me to be happy, knowing that we're paying attention to that and that we're not compromising that just because we could potentially make more money if we didn't.
For me, the inspiration that I get from you is you don't let the greed overcome you. See, I feel like it's easy when you literally come from almost nothing and then you start having notoriety and you see the money coming in. It's easy to throw the benefits and throw the people out of the window, you know, and just chase that money. But that's what I mean is like, it's so inspirational that though you've been challenged with a lot, you still do it and you do it right. You know, a lot of people out here, they'll do it, but they don't do it right. And the fact that you source locally, all these benefits, treat people like human beings, make sure everybody's being taken care of and not chasing after that money is amazing. That's the inspiration for me, for sure.
Yeah, well, I think it is important, like, you know, when you don't have a lot of money in the bank, for some people, getting more money in the bank is the only thing that will make them happier. For
Mhm.
other people, bringing happiness to people or being happy yourself is more important than how much money you have in the bank. I think that money at at a young age, money seems like everything, and it seems like the only way, the only answer to get happiness, to get the things that you want, to achieve your goals. But and for a long time, it was that for me, 100%. I'm not, you know, I would say only in the last 5 years, 6 years, have my priorities really begun to shift more
Mhm.
towards personal happiness than money in the bank. Um, and you know, that just takes time for people, and it depends on where you come from, and it depends on, you know, what you have growing up and what you don't have, and all these different things like contribute to this crazy algorithm of like what makes you happy. So I, speaking for myself, have learned that it's not about how much money can we squeeze out of all of this, that makes me happy. It's more about how is our influence and our actions, how is that affecting the people that we care about and the people that we surround ourselves with, and are we able to keep a business going while doing all of that. It's hard, it's not easy, right? And it's not, there's no like sure bet that we're gonna continue to be successful and continue to have restaurants open that are profitable. Like, we have to work on it all the time, and especially now during a pandemic, like, we're working on it, we're figuring out ways to like bring revenue in that isn't guests dining in the restaurant. We're doing that through virtual cooking classes, we're doing that through holiday gift packages, we're doing that through, you know, selling gift cards. There's all these other ways that we're trying to figure it out, and we're hustling through it, just like everybody in our industry is right now. But one thing, even during the pandemic, that I think has guided us, and that's been like this lighthouse for us, is our values, and the core values of what our company was built on helps us make decisions that allow us to, you know, continue to be happy about what we're doing even during the pandemic.
And I saw it was closer to the beginning of the pandemic, like when everybody was going into quarantine. And the first time COVID was at its height, and all these doctors were just scrambling and traveling to hospitals completely across the country. You set up entire restaurants that had been closed because you couldn't open them to feed doctors and nurses helping COVID patients.
Yeah, in Denver, when we had to close for indoor dining at Safta the first time, we partnered up with the Lee Initiative, and there's a chef in Louisville, Kentucky named Edward Lee, who began this initiative in partnership with some big businesses that were they funded us to be able to feed hospitality workers and musicians, and also bring food to local hospitals, which we were doing. We did that in New Orleans as well. My wife Emily and I, just the two of us, cooked about 1,300 meals for nurses and doctors here in the New Orleans area. And, again, like, we still hear about it today, about like from a nurse or a doctor that says like, look, we were working like 20 hours a day, and that really delicious macaroni and cheese that you made for us like helped get me through my day or put a smile on my face. And
Yeah.
that's what it's all about. That's what we love about it.
It's the little things, especially when you're working that hard, and I've seen videos of like nurses and doctors who are just like crying and thinking they're not appreciated even though they're trying so hard. I saw your post on Instagram about it. I was like, if I were a nurse or a doctor and I just had somebody make me a meal, or like if somebody bought me a candy bar and said, thank you for doing this, I'd probably start tearing up, because that's just giving back to the community and showing that it's not about the greed. It's about giving back and making other people happy. I think that's amazing.
And that's what hospitality is at its core. And you guys are part of a hospitality organization, and you have a podcast that has hospitality in the as a core of what you're doing, right? The pineapple is a symbol of hospitality.
There you go.
And that is something that will always be with you, and you just have to figure out throughout your career what decisions you can make to harness the power that you have to make people feel good. And you do have that power. Everybody does. It's just a matter of putting a focus on it and using it for good.
So if you don't mind me asking, why pomegranate? What made you
So-
go pomegranate?
Yeah, so just like you guys picked the pineapple, the pomegranate is also a symbol. It has a lot of different symbolic aspects to it. In Judaism, the pomegranate is a symbol of all of the commandments that is in the Old Testament. The top 10 commandments kind of make the rounds, that everybody, the top 10 list that everybody knows, like don't murder, don't steal, that kind of stuff. But there's actually 613 commandments total, and and I don't know them all, but every pomegranate has 613 seeds inside of it. So that's where that like connection is there in Judaism for symbolism. And it has a lot of symbolism in other things as well, which is really cool. And so when we started Pomegranate Hospitality, we thought of what would be a good symbol for lots of good deeds, for lots of for creating an environment where every seed matters, and every seed contributes to this story, to this mission, to our success. If a pomegranate, I guess, had 612 seeds, it probably couldn't survive. And so like that was part of the symbolism of why we picked that fruit for our company.
Well, it sounds perfect.
Yeah.
No other thing now. Like there's no other name you could have chose.
Exactly. Right. Now it was like meant to be.
So when you started it, did you have a focus on just one restaurant, or did you always know you kind of wanted to go multi-restaurant?
So we knew that we were going to open 2 restaurants really close to each other in the same year. So in 2018, we launched the Shaya cookbook, which I had been working on for a couple of years leading up to that moment. We launched that in March, and then in May we opened Saba in New Orleans, and then in August we opened Safta in Denver. So 2018 was like a big year where we started our company in October of 2017. In 2018 we kind of like got it all done, and then since then we've been working on just keeping everything building and strengthening. So we knew we were gonna bite off a lot, and it was always part of the plan.
And so why Denver? New
So
Orleans makes sense for you, but
yeah, well, I've been living in New Orleans for like 18 years, but Denver, my wife Emily and I would go and spend a lot of time in Colorado, and we love, fly fishing and skiing and being in the mountains. We love Colorado just in general, and we love Denver. We've spent time there, and we made friends there, and we felt like it was another just really like positive community for us to be able to split our time between. We like the fact that people are just generally really nice in Denver and chill, and it's not like some crazy, like big city like New York or LA where you're sitting in traffic all the time and it's like big
yeah.
hustle and bustle. We really like the balance that we get between New Orleans and Denver, because in the summer here it's like super hot and
Yeah.
there's like mosquitoes the size of possums flying around. But in Denver it's beautiful in the summer and no humidity, and so we just like all of those things. We're like, we want to find a good balance, and it was part of our pursuit of personal happiness that I was talking about earlier. Like we knew that we would be happy spending time out there. And now at Safta, we have just the most incredible team of people that are working there. Our pastry chef is Liliana, and she's so talented. Our chef de cuisine's name is Josh, and he runs like a really tight, organized ship, and like keeps quality at super high levels. And Jen Lorden is our general manager, and she's like a wine wizard. She knows everything about wine and service, and so and then there's so many other people as well that make up the team that work really hard, and I'm honored to be a part of their team now.
And we actually
Yeah, they were awesome.
Yeah, we actually went there last year,
Yeah.
a few months before we had to leave school, and just the service and the atmosphere, because you have to create a certain aesthetic for a restaurant. And I actually checked out your webpage, and it kind of matched the same aesthetic. It was like a soft pink tones, very feminine. I don't know what Saba looks like in New Orleans. I haven't seen pictures. Do you try and match like the same aesthetic throughout all your restaurants?
No, we try to give each restaurant kind of their own unique feel. So Saba in Hebrew means grandfather, and Safta in Hebrew means grandmother. So knowing that those were the two restaurants that we were going to start off with in our company, we wanted to kind of like, aside from just like the inspiration that I got from my grandmother, we thought it would be cool for like the grandparents to be like the first, and like there. And so the restaurants are very different in aesthetically. Saba is in like a very much of a residential neighborhood, where there's a lot of people walking their dogs and their kids, and there's a grocery store across the street, and so it looks very different than Safta, which is in this brand new hotel in Rhino, which is like a very kind of like hip industrial feel, artsy feel. So they both are very different, but both are equally as cool, I think.
It was still authentic though too. Like I went in there and I was like, this is authentic. Like I feel like I'm gonna be taken care of here.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
And so that almost pivots into a perfect question that I have, because You must be one of the only guests, if not the only guest, who has you're running two places. And I want to know what your relationship is with that. You know, how has it been? Two
Yeah.
restaurants? That seems like a handful. How can a chef be in two places? I'd love for you to touch on that.
Yeah, well, that's a great question, and I think one that I continue to ask myself, like what the best way to do it is. Like I don't believe that I have all the answers, but I do know that the biggest, uh, the most significant part of how I do it is through trust and trusting that we have built a really solid structure as a company, trusting that our team members who are part of the Pomegranate and Saba and Safta team care about what they do and put all the effort that they have into making it delicious and safe and comfortable and hospitable. And the proof is in the pudding. No pun intended. It's like you can see if that's happening or not. And is that are the team members happy? Are the customers happy? How does the food look? How does it taste? Is the place clean? Is it profitable? Is our relationships with our vendors and partners strong? And you know looking at all of those things and saying yes, all those things are happening. And definitely, like, there are times that we need to fix things and we make mistakes and we screw up, and all of those things do happen. But then, like, how do we recover from that? And are we doing that like in a really professional and level-headed way? Our team members looking out for each other and treating each other with care and love and respect? And if those things are happening, I feel like we're doing the right job. I don't pretend to like be making food at Saba and at Safta every day. I definitely like making food at those places and try to, but I also have to run the company and look into what's happening in the future. And so I don't look at it as how do I do it. I look at it as um, there's a team that is doing a great job of it, and I'm just a part of that team, and I have to, get in where I fit in and be a good influence and be there when someone needs something, and offer them good and sound advice. And I learn so much from them, and they offer me advice, and it's a very much of a two-way road. There's no like only one-way street. It's very much of a round table atmosphere that we've created, and that's what I really like about our company. Everyone has a seat at the table, and everyone has a ton of influence. And I couldn't imagine it not being that way.
Yeah. And when you were first starting out, and you began the idea and the thought process behind wanting to open your own restaurant, was there a moment of, can I do this? Or do I want to do this? Because I feel like if I were to open a restaurant, I'd be very hesitant, because that's a big step, especially opening two restaurants.
Yeah. I think that there's always that question, but I never let that question get in the way of making it happen. I feel really strongly about it. It's all I know how to do. It's not like I can default to dentistry or go be a auto mechanic if like I wanted to. Like, cooking in restaurants and hospitality is all I know, and so I just keep my foot on the gas pedal and do what I can to keep it successful and keep it going. So while I do ask myself those questions, mostly it's centered around how am I going to do it, or what's the best way to do it, or what makes the most sense. not like a general, like, if I'm going to do it.
I love that you said it's never an if, it's always, plow ahead, do the next step. I think that's something that a lot of people forget to do because they get comfortable. And when you're comfortable, I feel like that's a bad thing. And right now, this podcast, we're definitely we're starting to get comfortable. We're going to have to, me and Nate are going to have to like push it to the next step very soon.
Well, I commend what you guys are doing. I think it's really cool. And I think that getting stories out and more than you know, people connect with those stories, and it takes them on a personal journey that you may plant the seed for and have no idea what happens afterwards, but it's all very important. And so I think what you guys are doing is really cool, and you guys should keep it up.
Thank you. That means the world. Look at our
Yeah,
smiles.
coming from you, man, Lord.
Keep it up, guys.
What was the best advice given to you, whether that's a quote or like rephrasing, when you were first starting out?
The best advice that was given to me when I was first starting out was from Donna Barnett, and it was her telling me that I actually have a talent and that I can take that talent somewhere. I didn't quite look at cooking as a talent at that point. I thought of it as just something that I did and liked. But I think that she helped me realize that the thing that I liked to do could take me further than I ever knew. And I would love, I give that advice to people a lot now, to say, like, do what makes you happy and figure out how to make that into your career. Because you will always just find happiness in doing what you do for a living if you choose that path. And I think that that's really important.
I think that's what me and Nate both love about CCIC, because there were a lot of kids in the other programs who this year they dropped out because it just wasn't going to be the same, And so going in the first few weeks of our hospitality class the second year, already going in with expectations and then just completely having to start over, I think this podcast and other stuff besides this podcast, even just talking about what the future can hold, because it's not always going to be like this. Obviously, this is a rough time, but I think it's giving us hope, and it's making me excited for the future and to move on and grow my career, because I honestly can't think of anything else I'd rather do than be in the hospitality industry right now.
There you go. Keep at it.
The comeback is going to be crazy.
It will be. It will be.
Yes.
This is all, the pandemic will be a blip in time when it's all said and done, and, stay focused, keep pushing ahead, because there's going to be a ton of opportunity on the other side of this.
All right. And to wrap it up, we ask everybody one last question, and that is, what is something or a piece of advice you would like to say or give to the future leaders that are watching right now?
I would like to say, as much as you love hospitality, as much as you love cooking, as much as you love service, as much as you love all the details that go into having the right knives or pots or pans or wine openers or dining room tables, none of that is more important than surrounding yourself with people that you respect and that you look up to and that share in the values that you have as a human, not as a cook or as a server or as a restaurant professional, but as a human. Pay more attention to that than anything else, because everything else will fall into place. But you want to take that journey with people that you can learn from, and that you believe have your best interest in mind.
Hello,
Awesome.
everybody. Thank you for watching this episode of the Pineapple Podcast. If you wanted to keep up with Alon, make sure to follow him on Instagram at Alon Shaya. And if you want to keep up with him on Facebook, that's going to be alon.shaya. If you want to keep up with his restaurants, either here in Denver or in New Orleans, that's going to be Eat with Safta or eatwithsaba.com. And if you wanted to order his book, we link that to Amazon in the show notes. And if you wanted to keep up with the Pineapple Podcast, make sure to follow us at Pineapple Podcast CCIC, and that's going to be on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Stay tuned.